How's it going, everyone? As always, God bless you and thank you for being here. My name's Gage and this is Candy Coral Aquatics. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so while you're here. Also, if you could hit the like button and drop a comment down below, helps out the algorithm, which helps out the channel, which helps out me. So I would greatly appreciate it. Today, guys, I'm going to be showing you how to swap the filters in your RODI systems. This is the system I'll be using for demonstration, which is my 75-gallon per day 4-stage system from Bulk Reef Supply. So we've got multiple stages, 4, that our water is going to go through to help us produce 0 TDS water. We really want 0 TDS water for growing corals and for keeping our reef tanks, which is why it's super important to make sure that whatever RO system you go with is not just RO, but RODI, DI meaning deionizing resin. So what does that do? Well, as the water circulates through and goes through the different stages, there's still a possibility that you could have a couple of TDS or total dissolved solids floating around in your water. Now, you can say, okay, well, my tap water is 3, 4, 500 TDS, and by the time it goes through my RO block, it's only 3. And that does and is a substantial difference. It does seem like a substantial difference, and it is. However, what is that 3 TDS we're measuring? Is it chemical spray from the farm nearby? Is it phosphates? Is it heavy metals? Is it sulfur? There's lots of things that it could be. So the deionizing resin kind of polishes that all off and makes true 0 TDS water, which is what we want for our corals. Problem-free water, right? That's what we want. So let's go ahead and get started. So for this system here up top, we have the RO membrane. Now this is actually going to be held in place. Let me push this down by a couple of clamps. So all you're going to do is just grab a hold of it and pull it right out the top. Now when you pull it out, you're going to notice you don't really have a lot of room to work with because some of the tubing is kind of short. So first thing we're going to do is this piece right here. You can't see it very well where the camera is. There's a red tube that comes into the RO membrane right here. On the back side of here, you can actually push that little circular tab and pull that red tube right out, which is going to give you a lot more room to work with. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. And then I'll show you what that looks like here at a different angle. Then you can pop that up. Now we can actually freely unscrew this, revealing the RO membrane. So right here, this is where that tube goes into. If you just kind of push on it, it doesn't really feel like it moves, but as soon as you apply pressure, you can pull those tubes right out. Now on the inside here, we have our RO membrane. Again, if you're using this particular model, and actually a lot of these filters are universal, so even if you don't have the Bulk Reef Supply system, they should still work. But on the inside here, when you replace the filter and you push this in, it kind of clamps in the bottom. And if it's been a while since you've changed the filter, it's actually pretty hard to get out. So what I ended up doing is there's a couple of holes, you can't really see them, but there's a couple of holes in there that I'm able to fit a small screwdriver into. I just get a flathead screwdriver, kind of line up the holes so the screwdriver is passing straight through the filter. And then with a little bit of leverage, I just kind of pull. Oh, and it should pop right out, more or less. Push against it. There we go, and pop. So you can see even with leverage on our side, it was still kind of hard, right? So you can see those rings, there's those rubber like O-rings that kind of seal it in. You pop it in. So it is pretty hard to get your hand in there and try to pull it out. So always use leverage whenever able. Then we're going to grab our new filter. Again, these are universal. So if you don't have the Bulk Reef Supply system, that's okay. This video should still help you out. Let me turn this here. Maybe you can see better if I turn this in. Still can't really see down in there, but the way this is going to be inserted, again, just kind of remember these holes that we use to help pry it out. That's going to be facing forward. That with the O-rings is going to be facing in the back. We're just going to slide it right in, kind of line it up, and push it in there. Take a second here. There we go. So what I ended up doing is I kind of just circular motioned it, which was leading the back end to kind of go like this inside the tube. And then you can kind of find, okay, there's the hole, pop it back in. All right, go ahead and take our lid. One thing I want to mention real quick, there's an O-ring inside this little rubber seal here inside of this. When I was playing with this cap earlier, this fell out. And I was like, oh no, where did this come from? Did it come from here? Where did it? But anyways, you can see it sits right in there. So just be mindful of that you don't lose it. Don't want it leaking on you. Screw that back on. Like that. And then this also unscrews, so be mindful of that as well. And then we're going to go ahead and pop this down. And then let's go ahead and reinsert our tubing. Get this turned just a little bit. There we go. Pop that tubing back in there like that. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Good to go. Okay, so that should be taken care of. Now let's move on to the sediment filter. One thing I want to mention, especially as time goes on, because it's a pressurized system, these seals can get super tight. Now the bulk reef supply system, and I'm going to assume other systems, are going to come with a wrench. There are grooves right along the canister, right here. Do not put the nodules, if you will, the teeth, in those grooves. It actually needs to go to either side, okay? I have already pre-loosened it for the video, so let's go ahead and swap this out now. And I'll show you guys what these filters look like, because I'm sure they're going to be pretty grody. For those of you that follow the channel, you'll know I have not been on in quite some time, which means my filters have not been changed in quite some time. Woo. Look at that bad boy. So there's what we're changing. There's what we're replacing it with. Now there is no wrong way, I don't believe, to put these in here. Okay, there's nothing that it snaps into, nothing that it snaps to necessarily in there. So we're just gonna drop her in there. The only thing that I would say be mindful of is it doesn't necessarily slap in or snap in, but in the bottom you can kind of see that area, which I'm just gonna call it a nipple for lack of a better term. That's gonna slide right into that. And I'm assuming it's gonna be the same. That little raised area is gonna fit right inside these other filter holes. And then we're just gonna go ahead and slide this back in. And there is also a nipple or a raised area inside the top of the canister, which the filter should also just slide into, especially if you've lined it up in the bottom. It should, in theory, hopefully, line up. And that's what your water is going to flow through. There we go, hand tight, should be just fine. And there's one filter down. All right, moving on to our sediment filter. Or, I'm sorry, that was the sediment filter, our carbon filter. So sediment is first, then carbon. And we have our DI resin in the back, and then our RO membrane, which was on top, which we've already replaced. Okay, here's our carbon block. So, same situation. Pulling this out. Hold on, let me drop this phone call real quick, sorry. All right, pulling that out. Same situation, there's a hole on top and bottom, a little nipple or raised area that's going to slide into. Carbon is really good at removing all sorts of things. So, gonna go ahead and slide that in there. It looks like both sides are exactly the same. Gonna kind of line it up here the best we can. That one actually, you might have heard it clicked right into the bottom, just because it's a little bit of a tighter fit is all. Same situation, line her up, push her in. I'm sure there's a joke there somewhere, but we're going to keep it appropriate. Oh yeah. All right. Last one, DI resin. This one is going to be a little iffy. So how do you know when to change your DI resin? Well, it's color changing resin. So you will actually see here when I pull this out. Oh, hey, this one's not so bad. This one's actually all self-contained. Sweet. So you see how it's brown? Okay. I don't know if they're all going to be colored the same. The one that I'm replacing it with is actually blue. And as it starts to expire or get used up, exhausted, it will turn brown. Now, this one does have some instructions, this end up. So what we're going to do, looks like there's some styrofoam in there to hold the resin. I'm going to flip this upside down. So we're flipping it upside down, and it looks like this screws off. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to step out of camera real quick, because I'm going to dump this in the garbage. Actually, you know what? Better yet, I'm going to dump it in the toilet. Perks of filming in the bathroom, I guess. Okay. Go ahead and drop the resin in the toilet. Coming out super easy. No real issues. I'm going to repeat that for those of you that didn't hear. Comes out super easy, no real issues. So there you are. A little bit of residual. We can just rinse that out in the sink, I think. Realign this little sponge filter that's in here, it looks like. And of course, if some resin is left behind, who cares? Really not a big deal. We just want to make as much room as possible for the new resin, that's all. All right, that's taken care of. Let me just realign the camera here or see if I need to. I'm going to move this out of the way momentarily. Kind of. There we go. Okay. So here is the new resin. All right. Now this says blue mixed bed DI resin. So it starts off blue. Once it becomes exhausted, it will turn that brown color. Now, we're going to try to get this in there without making a mess. Let's see how well that works. All right, there we go. Oh no. Now, once you get it about 3/4 of the way full, or about 3/4 of the way full, which we're not quite there yet. Okay, that's, I might have overdone it. That's okay. Let me rinse my hands. Stuff's like gritty sand. Okay. Once you get it about 3/4 of the way full, you're going to want to pack it, because it is important that it's packed tightly. Okay. Now this says it's 1 cartridge refill, but I have a feeling we might be able to maybe get 2 out of it. Maybe 1.5. But we'll see as we pack this Maybe it really will just be the one. I think we're going to have a little bit left over, not a ton, but it's all right. We'll save it and we can use it our next refill. And it's kind of like, I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched, I'm just going to smush this with my finger. I don't know if any of you guys have ever watched The Office, but if you have, this is kind of like Kevin's explanation of how to get a free sandwich from, I think it was Burger King. Or no, it was McDonald's. So when I was like, yeah, we might have some left over, we might be able to use it in our next one. So Kevin's like, well, if every day when you go to McDonald's, you save one ingredient, eventually you'll have enough to get a free Big Mac. So if we save enough DI resin, eventually we'll have enough to refill it. I know this is probably boring. I'm almost done. All right. There we go. That was the messiest part of it all. All right, just going to kind of realign this little cotton filter that's in here. Hopefully you guys can see that. Clean this off a little bit. All right, and voila. Pretty gritty. Okay, now this one did have a specific way it had to go in. So right here, this bottom, there's an arrow actually, this end up. And then right here you have a slot that it's going to slide into in the top. Same as the other two. Find that nipple in there. And then screw it in. And that's the gist of it, you guys. So hopefully this video helped. If you guys enjoyed the video, as I mentioned before, please feel free to subscribe. Leave a comment down below if you think there's anything I could have done better. Or just let me know your opinions. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time. God bless. Take care.